are here on this special VOA podcast of Nothing But Net with Muqbil and Sonny and Jackson. We got the team here with us. Gentlemen, how's it going, man? How you guys feeling?
Hello.
Hey, I know when Action Jackson is in the studio, the energy level rises.
No pressure, baby.
Like it rises.
What's pressure? What's pressure?
Always ready, always ready. When I got cold, I'm like, I'm here. Let's do this.
Coach, put me in the game.
Yes,
put
sir.
me in the game.
Yes, sir.
As we were saying, the Sahara Conference has just finished. It was exciting. Honestly,
What a finish.
I can't
What
even
a
call, I
finish.
can't
What
even
a
call it
finish.
exciting.
Yep.
I think it's literally was so unexpected. You have 5 teams ending with 3 wins, 2 losses. Unfortunately, the defending champions, U.S. Monastir, on goal difference, were unable to make it through to the next round. Shocker, gentlemen?
Shocker for sure.
Absolutely.
I actually had Monastir at the start dominating this conference. I thought they would, if not run away with first place, that they were definitely the team to beat. But 4 other teams had their say for sure. I think the fact that we had 5 teams that finished with the same record, it really speaks to how competitive that conference was.
And that's what I love about this league, and that's what it's showing us, that if you're not sure who's going to win, just the excitement also shows that other teams are putting in the work. I thought, just like you, Sonny, that Monastir was going to dominate the Sahara Conference, most likely even win the trophy when they in May in Kigali. But what a big surprise!
Jackson, as you mentioned, man, looking at a team like U.S. Monastir, they were back-to-back finalists, right? So for them to have gone to the finals the first year and lose to Zamalek season 1 and then beat Petro season 2, you're not expecting an early departure.
No,
the
you're
gentlemen
not.
did not think they were going to Tunisia.
One player we didn't see on Monastir this time around was the big man from Sudan, Majak.
Majak,
He's moved on to Petro de Luanda. We'll talk about them a little later in this podcast. But what difference did he make, do you think, not being there in the middle for Monastir?
To me, if I would have to say, I think we'd all agree he was just a rim presence. He was a blocker. It's almost like he just was plugging up the paint. You couldn't get through to him. He's very athletic, long arms. He's a player that, not too many NBA or high-level players play like nowadays, right?
Absolutely.
Very much, defense-oriented, fast, wants to, get the block shots. He gets excited. And he was getting a lot of the crowd excited, too, last 2 seasons, just simply off of playing defense.
Yeah, I like him. Didn't he color his hair last year, too?
It was blue sometimes. Very Dennis Rodman-like,
No, it was a big loss for Monastir not to have him. He was, like you said, a presence right under the rim right there. Nobody was passing him. And as much as the team was executing on the other side of the court, he was right there each time anybody would come. Not in this house. Not in this house.
The Mutombo wag.
Mutombo wag.
I love it. I love that wag.
Shout out to Mutombo. How iconic is Mutombo's finger wag, to the point where players that are so much younger that probably never seen him play still emulate that.
Absolutely.
Did you, Muqbil, I'm betting you never had a shot blocked, though, did you, in your career?
I have here and there. I probably was a lot more excited because it doesn't happen so often. So if I get off the ground and get a block shot, trust me, I will let you know this is not happening again.
I have blocked a few shots in my
day.
career. And listen, it comes once in a while, but when it does happen, it's exciting. It feels good.
Yeah.
Well, I've been blocked many times.
Maybe
though.
on a more serious note, though, we do wish Dikembe Mutombo well. I know he's recovering from brain surgery.
Quick recovery to you, champ.
And maybe we'll see him later in this season. Maybe during the playoffs in Rwanda. That'd be great.
That would honestly be so amazing for the entire basketball community. Dikembe Mutombo has been a ambassador for basketball to Africa when there was not that many, when it wasn't the cool thing to do,
Right.
So for him to champion this and him to be able to be okay after this really big surgery will mean a lot to everybody, honestly.
And getting back to that finger wag of Dikembe, In fact, the BAL, the Basketball Africa League, has named its Defensive Player of the Year award the Dikembe Mutombo Award right after the big man.
Who better to
how appropriate.
Yes.
Amazing. But gentlemen, let's talk about the 4 teams that made it through to the finals or championship rounds in Kigali. Stade Malien, AS Douane, Rwanda Energy Group, the home team, and ABC Fighters.
Well, out of those 4 you mentioned, Muqbil, I think maybe the surprise team is Stade Malien. Making their debut in the Basketball Africa League. I certainly didn't pick them to top the table at the start. And 2 players in particular for Stade Malien, Diarra and Berthe. I thought they were just phenomenal in Dakar.
I would say ABC, Abidjan Basketball Club, also debutants in this league, and they really did great in the Sahara Conference, playing against some strong teams and beating them. I think it has to do a lot to do with Coach Mills.
Oh, yeah.
And she did a phenomenal job with that team. I was really, really surprised. I expected they were going to lose all the matches, but I mean, I did not think that any a team will come in and just shine like that on this level.
Honestly, the interesting thing about it is we were having this conversation offline. Sometimes when you have teams that have been playing in the league for so long, you have film, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes, when they say veteran experience is one thing, it is, but then there's also something exciting and interesting about the unknown, and it actually helps you sometimes.
Yes.
Because if you're a debutante team, no one's ever seen how you play. They don't know your play calling. They don't know the style of pace. They don't know what to really expect. But you got a team like US Monastir, and I think I really credit the fact that teams really locked in and studied film.
Yeah, they did.
Watched them and saw what it is that they do well and stopped them from doing what it is that they do well.
Absolutely.
And that's how they were able to get them out, So I think, to me, the debutante teams, honestly, sometimes might have a little bit of an advantage because you don't know. You know how it is. Sometimes you go play at a basketball court that you've never played at before. No one's seen you there before.
Right.
Every single move you're doing,
you're surprising.
It's working.
You're surprising everybody.
Everything's working.
I agree with you. On the court where we play with my guys, whenever we have a new kid coming in,
always
balls. But the second time he comes in,
shut down.
Lock him down. Lock him down.
Because we have figured you out. We know your side of. We know where you're going. Your right hand, your left arm is not quite as strong as your right, so we know how to block you.
Jackson and the crew did some film writing.
We would take some notes. We watch you.
We'll make sure this doesn't happen again. But yeah, no.
Well, getting back to Monastir, they finished 5th, and so they were out in terms of advancing. However, I got to cut them a little slack. Mm-hmm. They played back-to-back games, their final 2 games in Dakar, as did ABC Fighters. Mm-hmm. And both teams lost that second game by big margins. So I have to wonder, did they tire in that second game?
They're also not very young, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have, I think, one of the older teams on in the league.
Right.
It's possible that they were tired, but it's also possible, like you said, they have been studied. There's so much tape. This you can tell.
You have 2 seasons worth of tape on Monastir.
Absolutely. But honestly, that was for me a really big surprise that they were not able to make it. Right. And they didn't make it because of goal difference, I believe.
Yes,
this was absolutely complex for me to understand.
Right.
Muqbil had to explain to me a little bit.
Yes. So because during their games, the goal differential was just during your wins, how much did you win by, subtracted by how much did you lose by on your losses. So honestly speaking, a lot of the teams were relatively close. Just to have 5 teams all 3-2. And then everything comes down to goal differential. It's you can't get more. How is the Nile Conference gonna outdo the Sahara Conference?
Absolutely.
That's my question. But before we jump there, let's talk about some of these players. Sonny just mentioned, Aliou Diarra, who to me has been the most impressive player in the conference
I
so
would agree.
far.
I think he was MVP of the Sahara Conference.
For sure. Young man, 21 years old. He's a big, long arms, very athletic.
Fluid.
Oh my goodness. And then it's like he plays on both ends. He has a teammate that scores just as much as he does, but isn't really necessarily as impactful as he is on a defensive end, which is Suleiman Berté, a stud as well. But he's more of the offensive juggernaut as opposed to his defensive prowess, right?
We also talk about Bile though. Bile, I mean,
Bile. That's a great name. I actually kind of forgot about that name.
Judia Bile. I mean, he was able really to come through for the team when
Haruna was
not able to.
Haruna was having a very tough shooting night. He honestly had 2 tough shooting back-to-backs actually, because in his last game he also was struggling as well. So hopefully we hope to see Haruna get back to his form, because we know he's a stellar mid-range kind of guy. And he's been playing well up until those last 2 games. But it could also be what Sonny and Jackson have been saying. Fatigue, man. Some of these back-to-backs on the older players, Haruna is not the youngest player.
although Muqbil, I must say, NBA teams play back-to-back all the time.
Absolutely.
And we're talking, what are we talking, 6 games here?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be ready to come out and go hard for all 6.
I agree.
But we got to think about NBA, and nowadays we have load management as well, right? So we have players that might not be able to go and say, hey, coach, I don't want to do this back-to-back.
And have somebody else in there.
Yeah, I might need this for the playoffs. You might have to hold me out, coach.
Getting back to Bile, and I like him. What a rugged player.
Oh.
But one local note, shout out for the DMV.
Oh, yeah.
Bile played his college basketball right here in Washington for the Georgetown Hoyas. And I'm thinking maybe that rugged style of his he got from Patrick Ewing.
Oh, it's definitely very possible, because you know how it is in the city.
Coach Ewing, who just departed the Hoyas after almost 8 years at the helm. I mean, I'm sure you're right, Sonny. He probably gave him some of that, the metal that he needs.
Yeah, but
You can
even
see
if we just look at the history of Georgetown basketball with the Thompsons as well, so it's like the style of play has always been round and pound.
Yes,
very physical,
I like that.
Yeah.
Very physical. You got a guy. Just think about if we go as far back as Allen Iverson. As a small guard, but look how physical he was. He never shied away from getting hit.
Yes.
He was almost always on the floor.
He was always in your face.
Right? Always.
He was a football player in high school.
He was.
And he was a good football player.
All state. But I know if he would have played football, his career wouldn't have been that long.
Absolutely. But we should say without Chodie Bile in the last 2 games, I don't think ABC would have been able to make it.
Oh, yeah. No, but that also, let's attribute that to coaching, right, as well. During that time, I believe it was the game where Coach Liz Mills was out. Assistant coach Eric Pinault was in there, I believe, and he honestly made the right call by, making sure, hey, Haruna, let's sit down for a little bit.
It's not a good day for you today.
Let's just have a seat.
Yeah.
Let's just relax, because you could see Haruna was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
The jumper wasn't going down. So what did he do? He just told him, listen, just wait it out.
Yeah.
You got teammates. This is a team game.
It's a team game.
Your team
Yes.
will uplift you.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that was one of my favorite games, because Kawara Falcons really put it all on the line.
Yep.
We're up maybe 7
they really
points
tried.
in
And
their
they
last
kept
minute.
narrowing
kept going
the lead,
back and forth. But
Playing for pride.
Man. Yeah, but honestly speaking, even though they finished the conference without a single win, the gentlemen should hold their heads up high. They all came out to play. There were some stellar performances in there.
100%.
And they were all competitive
Yes.
in all the games.
Yeah, there was no real blowouts for the Falcons. So it was just, not having maybe that player that could just put them over the hump. Maybe, next time they'll just need that key player, that gel guy that'll put them over the top.
Right.
But
I think later on also, I think the first match we watched with Sonny, we didn't see a lot of, we saw a lot of players in their singularity shining, but we didn't feel like there was cohesion in many of these teams.
Right.
But as it progressively, it got better over and over, and that's when we see, people like Chodie Bile, who would have been like a backbencher type player, coming in to shine because the coach was able to, bring him in when he's, figure out when to bring him in to kind of replace Runa when Runa was having a bad day.
No, I like that. Honestly, coaching, like we said, is very important. People don't understand, what it really is to coach. Sometimes people just see coaches on the side thinking that they're just calling these plays, but that's not really what it is.
It's
more
about
to it.
It's almost like a mental chess game between the two coaches. This is working. This team went on a run. So what are we going to do? How are we going to stop them? Maybe my best players on offense are not my best defensive players. So let me take them out a little bit. Let the defensive dogs go out there, and work. Them boys work. So, yeah, man, honestly, so Stade Malien has been, just from a team collective outside of the two-star players, has played an extremely amazing game. Talk to me about AS Douane. The home team, for the conference.
In terms of the crowd in Dakar, they filled up the arena when AS Douane was playing, and I think they fed off that to really
the sixth man.
Sixth man on the court, and I think that definitely helped them. It'll be interesting to see whether the next round is in Cairo, whether Al Ahly can. Feed off that
and capitalize on the home crowd.
On the energy.
Yes, I also expect that crowd will be more. There will be more presence inside the stadium than we saw in Dakar. But didn't they lose their first game? Stade Malien. Sorry,
AS Douane.
Yes,
I think they did.
They did lose their first game,
Yep.
which was really surprising because sometimes teams don't want to be embarrassed at when they have that home court advantage to lose.
But way to turn it around.
Yeah, and they turned it
because
around.
I think it was their first game, having lost that first game, coming back to go 0-1 and then to be able to turn everything around and finish off the table at second.
I had counted them out after that first game.
One game, Jax.
Maybe that was me being pessimistic because they didn't play really well.
Yeah.
And I guess they were playing against a team that was hungrier, that had more hunger for it. But I thought that after that first game, they probably going to lose the next couple.
But they turned it around, man.
This is Nothing But Net with Muqbil and Sonny and Action Jackson. We'll be back right after this promo shot. This is Nothing But Net with Muqbil and Sonny and Action Jackson Mvunganyi.
Hello.
Coming up, we have the Nile Conference, which tips off on April 26th in Cairo, Egypt. And Muqbil, why don't you run down the 6 teams that will be competing in Cairo?
All right, so we have Al Ahly Sports Club that are from Egypt. They are the home team, so we'll see if they can, utilize that home court advantage. We then have Petro de Luanda, the vets.
The vets are from basketball powerhouse.
Angola, they are
former powerhouse.
Still a powerhouse,
Maybe the favorite.
Honestly speaking, after their first 2 seasons, if teams haven't studied film on them
out. Exactly. I was gonna say.
It's gonna be very interesting. Then we have SLAC, Seydou Legacy Athletic Club, making a comeback after not being in season 2. We have the Cape Town Tigers.
Yes.
So featuring Zaire Wade. Be very.
I love his first name.
Yeah, right.
It works out so well. We will be very interested to see.
Of course, Zaire Wade, the son to the NBA legend,
Hall of Famer, Dwayne Wade.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see if D Wade pulls up. For the conference,
I have no doubt.
With Gabriella?
With Gabriella Wilson.
Gabrielle Union. We will see. And then last but not least, the City Oilers from Uganda.
Yes.
Newcomers, but definitely, if they take anything from the Sahara Conference, it is just because you're a new team doesn't mean you can't finish the top.
Don't cut me out. Don't cut them out.
So definitely they're going to come out with that energy. No one's really seen them play as much. Not too much film out there, so we will be interested to see. Who do you both feel like are the favorites for this Nile conference?
I did hear some comments from Liz Mills of ABC Fighters after their final placing in the Sahara Conference, and they finished as the 4th team in that table. And she said as a result, in the next round in Kigali, or the playoffs, I should say, they got to go up against the number one seed. And she mentioned Petro, that they might have to go up against Petro de Luanda in their opening game in Kigali, which I don't think I'd want to go up against Petro right off the bat.
Petro, the most interesting thing about that team is that they have played together for so long, right? They have that team chemistry. Chemistry is one of those things that it's very difficult to build within a few weeks of training camp, right? It seems as if sometimes when you look at these players, they literally know where the other player is going before he gets there. The ball's there. This man just does a little V cut. He's there. It's a dunk. It's quick. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Petro performs and if they're able to finish the top of the table. If they are, this might be the year that they get it. But let's not count out Al Ahly, who is a dominant powerhouse in Egypt. That were able to
beat
also
Zamalek
out
Good
for the
point.
season, right? To be the representatives from Egypt. So
They might actually be, correct me if I'm wrong, the oldest sports club in Africa. I mean, I know Al Ahly competes in multiple sports.
Yeah.
Not just soccer, basketball. I think handball also.
Yeah, club sports across the board, I believe. Yeah, they are top 1, top 2.
I would say Cape Town Tigers are the dark horse in this one after being humiliated really last year.
Yeah, they did. They got beat badly by Monastir in the
They have
the
a chip on their shoulder now
yeah.
this time around. They have this new addition in Zaire.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on the team, but I know that many teams, after they have lost their first, their first tournament usually come in the second time, with some lessons to learn.
Right.
And I would look out for those for the Cape Town Tigers.
One little fun fact about the Tigers, their head coach, his first name is Florsheim. And sure enough, I guess his father loved Florsheim shoes. So he decided to name his son after the shoes.
Florsheim.
Legendary.
Did you have him on the show at some point, Sonny? Last year?
That was the previous coach.
The previous coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll be stepping to a different coach this time around.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out for them. I'm sure they've made more other additions. Right now, the attention is on Zaire, but I didn't even know they had a new coach.
Right.
If the attention is on Zaire, he's kind of sucked that the air off of everybody.
Right.
But what other changes Cape Town Tigers has made to their roster?
Right.
To new coach, new energy, new attitude.
Right.
They're here to win it. So I would really look out for them.
No, for sure. We spoke to Captain Peter Prinsloo, who's going to be the returning captain. He's a baller, man, and he definitely understands what he needs to do in order to get the team going. So he was, I spoke to him, and he was letting me know that the team is very, very much on the conquest, man.
They're ready.
They're trying to take it, obviously one game at a time, not looking too far in the future, but at the same time, they're really coming out here to play. So,
But I think it really makes a difference. You're bringing in a young player like Zaire Wade, that he gels with the team, that he has enough time to, meet his teammates and figure out which way they're going to cut on plays, and so he can get him the ball.
For sure. The thing I like about Zaire's game, though, is that he's a facilitator first type of guard. So those type of guards usually, because he's bringing the ball up majority of the time, it's not like he's looking for the ball himself. He has the ball in his hands and he can do what he wants with it, getting everybody involved and then having moments where he can kind of, get to work as well. So I think from that perspective, it'll be a lot easier than maybe if he were playing a different position, maybe shooting guard or a small forward, where he has to rely on somebody else getting him touches, and every time he gets the ball, maybe he's looking to create for himself. So I think if they put him at the point, I think it'll work for them.
Action Jackson Mvunganyi. What about those City Oilers?
The City Oilers from Kampala, Uganda.
Could they be a surprise team?
Listen,
in the Nile
I would not
Conference?
count them out. I think they also are coming in this to win it. Uganda has a great legacy of basketball.
Okay.
Last 30 years now. I grew up in the city. I saw basketball, come up. There used to be like one basketball court in the whole city, which was at the YMCA. It had potholes in it. But over the years, the infrastructure has improved. More young kids are playing. And City Oilers has great management.
Okay.
I spoke to people who have told me, listen, this team could as well win all of it, actually, not just the. So
I love
let's
it.
watch out for the City Oilers. There's a lot of confidence from people who have watched them play.
I think I'll give them a chance. I mean, just based on what Stade Malien and ABC Fighters have
Has
done
been able- exactly.
as debutante teams. And I think, I think the league really has improved competitively. This most recent conference is proof of that. 5 teams with the same record, 3-2. It shows you that it's going to be a fight, I think, in Cairo.
No, I think so as well. I think what we've seen from the Sahara Conference and just seasons previous, every year the Basketball Africa League continues to improve.
Gets better.
From every single perspective, you see the players to the teams, the team cohesion, chemistry, coaching, fan support. I love the fact that they split it up into the conferences as well.
I like that.
Even this year it seemed like the schedule was like further apart, so there were very few games where they were doing the back-to-backs. Majority of the games had spacing. I really like what's going on. So Nile Conference is going to be very exciting. I think honestly it's anyone's game, as we've seen in this first conference. For me, it's a clean slate.
And that's what I love
with
about
whatever.
this. This is what I love about this is that you don't know who's going to win. Anybody, even the dark horse teams have a chance to beat the bigger teams. And if we have learned anything again from the Sahara Conference, it's anybody's game.
Right.
And that shows improvement in the league.
Yeah.
It shows that the teams are putting in work. They're learning lessons from past games.
Right.
Whether it's the coaching, whether it's the player styles, kind of to bolster. The only issue that I still have is, building team chemistry is tough when you're just bringing in new players.
Yeah,
Each time
shorter
you're going
time.
to play at this type of platform. So
Right. No,
maybe some consistency over the year.
One quick point about SLAC, Say-Do Legacy Athletic Club. I do remember them from the inaugural season. They were a rugged team.
Yeah.
They're very athletic. So it'll be interesting to see if they've improved and what they've learned from that debut season.
Absolutely. When you were already in a season and then you didn't make it back in, you definitely have another chip on your shoulder. So you want to make the best impression to make sure that you get to a further round, so you're able to make sure that you continually sustain and stay in it.
Absolutely.
But to me, the most interesting thing about this league is the fact that you only have to play teams one time. So it doesn't mean that it has to be the better team that's going to win. It's the better team that night.
There you go.
Right?
Absolutely.
So all you got to do is just come in, play one game against
Put
these
your best foot forward.
every single game.
Leave it on the court.
One time, leave it on the court.
Yeah.
You can come out undefeated.
I agree.
Wishful thinking.
That's a great strategy. That's a great strategy.
Sign me up for coach.
I mean, that's a good point, Muqbil. I mean, do you think any team can run the table in Cairo?
Ooh. Honestly, I can't call it. There's too many teams that I haven't really seen outside of Petro, and that thing might happen where Petro, we've seen how they play, so they might not necessarily be able to, just get away with it as they have in previous seasons, because they used to clean up conferences.
They did.
But yeah, man.
And listen, the home team for the Nile Conference. Like we said, sometimes the home team has that advantage, and if you capitalize on that advantage on the sixth man, I know the fan base in Cairo is, I guess, much more excited than in the Sahara Conference. And if they're able to come and fill the stadium each time El Ahly is playing, that could be the difference maker.
Oh no, absolutely, gentlemen. It has been great. It's very easy for us to just keep talking. It seems like time is not our friend at the moment.
Nothing but net.
Man, nothing but net with Muqbil and Sonny and Jackson. It's been great. The Sahara Conference is done, and we're looking forward to the Nile Conference. And we will be back for more in the Nile Conference.